So Ubisoft definitely doesn't seem to be in the most ideal situation right now. They seem to be in a bit of a do or die kind of thing. From as I understand it, there is a big chance that if the new Assassin's Creed game is not financially successful, that this company might be going under, which would include Ubisoft facing a buyout situation, maybe even selling off some of its properties. This is absolutely insane to see an industry juggernaut now in the position like this. I remember a time where the studio could do no wrong. It seems so long ago. Like, remember when they were making the Prince of Persia games, the Splinter Cell titles, Rainbow Six Vegas, many of the Clancy games. What happened to them? How could we get here? Now, if Assassin's Creed Shadows ends up being good, then I hope it sells well. But based on what we've seen so far, it's not looking good, and not like the game will be a fun time. More like it will be suffering from some of the same modern nonsense that we want out of our games. And now Ubisoft is riding on a horse that doesn't seem to be offering their best, and yet they need this one to win, or they might be done for. Now, where is all of this stuff coming from? Where is the stuff that everything is essentially riding on Assassin's Creed Shadows? As much as I don't like Jason Schreier, he does have access to insider information that many of us don't have. And he said that the release of Shadows could tell us a lot about Ubisoft. Like, if the game flops and does not meet sales expectations, that the Ubisoft that we have known might not be the same after this. And he estimated that this might happen rather quickly. Again, this brings up a lot of stuff on what happens to a bunch of their other projects that haven't been released yet. Will we see franchises sort of just die? Or will someone else come in and buy these properties to try and do something with them? I'm very interested about Splinter Cell. I know they are making the remake, which I'm not crazy about, so maybe this ends up being a blessing in disguise if Ubisoft goes under. I do not want Splinter Cell to get tainted by that modern writing, and nonsense, or even worse, just outright ruined. I mean, if you're going to make a Splinter Cell game, you want to make it something that the fanbase actually wants. Look to Chaos Theory, bring Ironside back, boom, there you go, you have a success. But if Ubisoft goes under, does that mean the remake gets canned? Or does someone then try to buy it and then continue the work? I am not sure how far along that game is. The same goes for the future of Prince of Persia. What about that potential remaster for Blacklist that was supposed to come out last year? Will we ever see Rainbow Six Vegas again? I have a lot of questions pertaining to that. One thing is most definitely certain, that it seems like everything is riding on Assassin's Creed Shadows, and if I had the choice, that is not the horse I would want to be betting on for all of my big success. Now, I do want to flip this around, because this could all not mean doom and gloom for Ubisoft. Yes, everything seems to be riding on Shadows, but I think we need to look at this from a different angle too. What were the prior sales of the previous Assassin's Creed games? Valhalla sold about 20 million, Odyssey was about 10 million plus, along with Origins, though Mirage, the latest one, was around 5 million. So I think it would be safe to say that the fan base and player base for these games are still huge, and even at 5 million, many people are buying these games. But something to remember too, the budgets of these titles have drastically gone up, so the sales number for these titles need to be big. But are they big enough to create a profit from those budgets, and then add on to the marketing budgets of those games as well, which in many cases can totally eclipse the cost of development of the entire thing. In terms on if this game will sell well, I really have no idea. That's a wait and see type of thing. What is certain is that Shadows needs to do well, and maybe in this case it needs to do very well. From the sound of it, from what Jason said, if Shadows does well, then it will buy Ubisoft more time to figure out their next course of action. Ubisoft is in a sort of underdog situation, and a lot of it seems to be self-inflicted, based on their choices and previous releases for 2024 not being a good year for them. Skull and Bones did not sell well, Star Wars Outlaws flopped. I think that was a big one that I even was surprised by too. It was more telling about the lack of strength in the property of Star Wars anymore. Plus, Ubisoft did not do themselves any favors with the bad previews for that title. I still couldn't get over the uglification of the main character's face, and some of the dialogue reeks of bad modern writing. Shadows does seem to be another one in the miscalculation by the studio to make something that audiences actually want. They seem a bit too late to the party, and showed up with something that no one really wants anymore. So let's take a step back when Assassin's Creed was still young. Many fans were asking for a Japan-based Assassin's Creed title. They were like, the assassins and the setting are perfect for each other. Fans yelled for it and Ubisoft ignored them. Then, since Ubisoft took so long to actually do a Japanese one, Ghost of Tsushima came along and was able to do it really well. Now another studio did Assassin's Creed, and better than Ubisoft. So with Ubisoft doing Assassin's Creed Shadows now. It feels like Ubisoft is trying to play catch up, when before they were in the lead, but through sort of bad decisions they ended up here. Now they have a new Assassin's Creed game coming out, after Ghost of Tsushima, and the game needs to provide reasons why players should pick this game, than even just replaying the one that Sucker Punch just made. So when Shadows comes out, if it does well, what does that tell us? Well, for one, maybe the game actually ends up being a fun game. Maybe a large amount of players don't really care that you're playing as a black guy in Assassin's Creed Japan. Maybe the gameplay is just that good, like the forced inclusion and virtue signaling is mostly ignored. Maybe that happens. If the game fails, I think it shows us, like the prior failures of Ubisoft, is that Ubisoft has completely misread the market and their audience on what they actually want. And if Shadows fails, that might mean that they are dead in the water. Personally, I would hate to see the end of Ubisoft. I look at them, that iconic symbol, and I see the history that they have. The games they haven't really done anything with in a long time, but I still love. Some of their most recent stuff I actually did like Division 1 I love, and The Immortals was pretty underrated too. But it would appear that the Ubisoft that made Division 1 is not the same one that we have today. And if that is the case, maybe a restructuring or selling off their properties might end up being a really good thing for them, especially who ends up buying them. Yes, in a perfect world, I would love to see Ubisoft remaster many of their greats from their past. Give me a Vegas remaster. Get the old school Splinter Cell games back out there. You can't even buy Pandora Tomorrow anyway if you wanted to, and there's a bunch of workarounds to get that working, but honestly there should be better ways. Get Prince of Persia back out there. I could go on. Ubisoft has lost a lot of value. Look at how this company is doing in the stock market, just as an example. Look at the games they are making now. People are not resonating with them anymore. Again, I remember a time where I looked forward to a new Ubisoft title, a new Clancy game, something like that. I think at least for me, what I want from Ubisoft is just that it doesn't exist anymore. I have a lot of good memories there. I would rather see a studio very much turn it around and course correct, but I am not sure what is going on here. This might end up being the end of them and make for a very interesting start to 2025. Do you think Shadows will sell and Ubisoft will survive? What are your thoughts on all of this? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.